Okay.
So first of all, Noelle,
Yeah.
congratulations on your recent development in doing this movie, which we'll hear all about in a second. I do appreciate you taking the time in giving us this little guest speaker interview and sharing your experience, what you've gone through with this movie, how you applied a few things, and sharing us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it. I mean, I credit you with this success. So, it's great. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So first question I have for you, if you want to share this with me, is how did you start working in this entertainment industry and what motivated you to be working in it?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. The short version is, so I grew up in LA. I've always been around the industry. It's always been intriguing. My dad was a writer. It's been a thing. I started working out thinking I was going to be a cinematographer. So I got in the camera business side and I worked at Panavision for a little bit. But then while I was starting to climb up the ranks camera wise, I was looking around because I was like, I don't think I like this the same way the camera people like it. But I was looking around set and I still love cameras. I'm a big nerd, but I was like, I don't breathe it the way they do.
Yeah.
So I started looking around set and I saw producers and I was like, what do they do? And then great job.
I want to eat them. All right.
They sit on their phones and they just take calls. I like that. So my friend owned a production company, started letting me coordinate music videos and little stuff. And I moved into shorts and started producing shorts and loved it. I was like duck in water, just took off. And then I just knew after that. So then I started getting union jobs and climbing the ranks in the union world in the office. And I've gone up that way. So I production supervise big union studio movies, but then on the side, I do my independent films and I just love it. It's so much fun, especially producing, taking the idea and the script and watching it the whole way through that's what makes me want to do it. Because I've had the joy of literally inception of an idea with the director and writer, and we work on it, we shoot it, and then it wound up getting it was a short film and we wound up getting paired with a feature, and it was screened at the Egyptian in Hollywood, and the short was before the feature, and a room full of 500 people, and they all had the emotional reaction we wanted at the moments we wanted them, and it was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. So that's what I do it for.
So you actually did what I think it's fascinating. So you did a little proof of concept with this short and then decided I'm going to do a feature out of this. Is that what happened with this one?
So with this one,
no, not this one that you just did.
Right, this one
short that you were talking about.
But the short I'm talking about is actually a funny story. So I know people always, because I get sick of hearing it sometimes too, of well, just go out and shoot something, because that's always the thing. Right. But it is true, because my director and I went out and just shot something for fun. We did a Kickstarter for it. We raised it. That had its life. It lived its life. It just lives online now. And some researcher at Fox Digital, which is this little sub studio, found that film just online, reached out to us and said, hey, we're doing this thing with Hulu. We're finding filmmakers and basically giving them money to go shoot an original short film. And we said, yeah, of course we want to do that. And so we wound up being one of 8 teams with this Fox Digital Hulu thing. It was called Huluween. It was a whole thing on Hulu. And so one of 8 teams, each team got X amount of dollars. And then they said, here's the deliverables. The studio approved the concept and the script, but then we went out and shot it and then delivered it. And then it aired on Hulu. And then Fox, actually, this is another piece of good news. That short was called Gillymuck, and Fox still owns the rights to it, but they are, I can't say much, but they're developing it more into something bigger. So
that's amazing.
But it all started from just shooting something. Yeah. And that movie was called The Sub, and that film or short just lives online. It's done its thing. But we thought we were done. We're like, okay, well, we shot it. It's done. But then someone found it, and that led to us having this wonderful contact at, it's now 20th Century Digital Studios with the merger, but
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. So you were a little bit around the industry also because you come from a family. I mean, you said your dad is a writer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you would say that inspired you? I mean, I always think that producers are, at their heart, I think we are storytellers. Is that something that kind of rings true to you? I mean, are you very story driven?
Yes, I am. I would say that's probably my biggest asset as a producer. So, because growing up, I mean, every essay I wrote, I heard the same thing over and over again, like beginning, middle, and end. It has to have a story, even if it's a history paper and you don't care about it, make it entertaining. So there's always a way to find a story in anything. And that just became part of my essence at this point. So now when I read scripts, the sentence or the question we always ask is, why do I care? So when I read a script, I'm always like, why do I care? Like, where's the heart? Where's the story? What is this? So, and I feel like it makes me a valuable producer because I can very quickly get to the story, and then I can make sure I protect it throughout the process.
And you can guide the writers, no? Because you're looking at it from a entertaining point of view, and then B, you really look at it like, why do I care? Why do I like these characters? Why do I want to have them die or not die? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I want to have that heart-wrenching moment. I want to feel that stuff. And if I don't get it, I'm like disappointed. And I go to the writer, but I don't like go like, this is bad and throw it at him. I go, okay, I don't think this is working. I think you need this here, and maybe he or she needs to do this here. So I'm always trying to come up with solutions and work with it.
That's good. So you were in my entertainment finance class, and that's when I met. Yay to that. I'm so happy. So hearing your story, I gotta ask, what was the decision-making factor for you to dive into the financing world and take my class?
Again, to kind of touch on what I said earlier, when I was looking around set and I was like, who are those guys? I maybe narcissistically or egotistically, whatever, wanted to be the person who could say yes, not the person who says no, because everyone can say no, like, no, we can't do that. But I wanted to be, and who decides that is kind of the person who kind of has the connection to the money. So I'm like, the only way to get a yes is to like control the money and stuff like that, or at least have access to it and make sure it's being handled correctly. So I want to get into finance because I realized I have a dozen scripts in my inbox at any given time. They're all great. I want to make them all, but there comes a point where it's like, how? Like, everyone has a script. Like, not everyone can write, but everyone can write, all that stuff. But how do you make a movie? Like, that always has been my thing of like, what's behind the curtain? And to me, it's that level of deal making, that level of financing, that's how you get a movie made, to me. And I wanted to not have to be the person to pay someone to figure that out. I wanted to be the person that knew it. So that's why I took your class, because I had a good girlfriend who's also a producer. She took your class and she just said, take it. It's the only class you'll ever need to take. She's so good. She's like, you're gonna learn a lot. Your brain's gonna get mush, but she's like, it's so good, and she teaches you everything.
I'm sorry about mushing your brain, but I do have a tendency to go into a lot of detail. I loved it. Yeah, and I do think the detail is important. I mean, you work in this industry, the devil is in the detail for sure. And I'm glad you appreciate that. And I'm sorry, mushing brains. But now on your path of you're coming from storytelling, you now decided, I want to be the yay sayer. What in the class did you think was mostly useful? A, that kind of stuck with you, and B, that helped you now on your path of getting this recent movie released?
I'd say the thing that stuck with me the most is learning literally how to break down financing, because that's always eluded me. Because like, people, I feel like, very quickly learn a couple hot buzzwords of like, oh, pre-sales, like, yeah, we'll get pre-sales, but what does that mean? Like, And then how do you find a sales agent, and like what does that mean? And then how bank loans actually work, like that stuff is what stuck with me. Like I have your book out actually because I was looking up something else because I was trying to do a finance plan for another project I have. And so I mean, I reference it now, like it's great, it's very useful. But I just think that to me was the thing I wanted to learn and the thing you successfully taught. And I think to me, the thing that's most valuable is like, I don't have to listen to fast talkers or people who've done it a million times and go like, oh yeah, like, oh, you don't have a CAM account? Oh, like, I go, I know what that is. Like, don't roll over that term. And then I'm going to sit here and go like, oh, what is that? And get in a place of weakness of like, or fear of like, well, they said I needed it, so do I really need it? And it's like, nope, I do need a CAM account, but like, do I need this, this, and this? Or when I'm reading, like when we got our offer for this film that I emailed you about, I had option A and option B, and I wound up foregoing the minimum guarantee to get a better deal. So, but I only would have done that because I knew it was the smarter move because of what you taught me. Because otherwise, having a MG cash in hand, I'd been like, yeah, look at us with all of our money. Nope.
Would have been a sucky deal then.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes money looks great in the beginning, but you're paying for it later, right?
Exactly.
And when you started, I'd love for you to now tell me about the project that you sent. I'm so happy. I mean, I can't wait to see it. I'm sorry I can't be in LA for the screening. This is terrible.
Okay.
But I'm going to watch it, and thank you for sending me the link. So how did this project come about? First of all, what is the project? How did it come about? So tell us a little about that.
Yes, actually, right before I said, my little battery light went off, so I'm just gonna plug in.
Yeah, please do.
I'm working so much.
Yeah.
Computer's all slow down. It's gonna be fun for your students to see this little move around.
You know what? It's the reality out there. Thank God I don't have to get up because I'm wearing my PJs under this. So
yay. Spoiler alert, I'm wearing my sweatpants.
Great.
I saw that. But let's see. So what's the project I have? So the project I have is called Whelm. It's spelled WHELM. It is a feature. I got brought on a little later than traditionally is accepted, but I still came in like, and what it is it is a American epic period piece. It's shot on film and it's stars unknown. So like we have that to deal with where we don't have like a big actor attached, but it's basically everyone's breakthrough moment. But what is so special about it is the story is so good. The directing is so good. The acting is so good. Basically all the talent is there. There's just no names yet, but the director, who's also the director, writer, composer, the DP, the cast are all standouts. And it looks like $1 million film, and it was not shot for that. And because of the quality of the script and the quality of the work that's already been put in, we had big name companies like Kodak and Arri basically come to our support and make crazy deals with us because they believed in the project. And these are top of the line companies, huge companies. They believed in the work so much too. And they were so pleased with like what we were putting out during filming. And now obviously the final product is like, you know, it speaks for itself. It's a very, very well done piece.
Well, it's good enough. I mean, look at it. You had a huge announcement in Deadline recently about this, and it proved that a good story does sell. And you have to deal with, it's a period piece, which is already going against you. You have to deal with not having known actors in it, which is going against you, and you still found a way to break through and make noise and get a theatrical release on this.
Yeah. So what we did is so we made a deal with Gravitas Ventures. So they bought the North American online rights, which I now know the difference because of you.
Good.
So I was making very sure what lane we were in. Right. And then we retained the theatrical rights because, I mean, like somewhat privately information, but just Gravitas wasn't interested in the theatrical rights.
Right.
And we said we saw value in it because we were like, we think we will do good theatrically, so can we retain it? And they said, yeah, sure, no problem.
Perfect.
So we retained it, and granted, we're self-exhibiting, and we are doing what filmmakers do. We are calling every name in our Rolodex and, hitting the streets, making deals. But it's because we know this is our debut into the film industry as a team, and we believe in the team, and like we already have the next script written. So it's that thing of like, we understand that even though right now we're unknowns, we know this is a means to an end because the quality of the work speaks for itself. And like the way we got into Deadline and all those places is we did what every filmmaker does. You scrimped up more money, put it on a credit card, hired a publicist, got our name out there because there's value in being seen.
Absolutely.
So it's just,
and you're getting your name out. The article is beautiful. I read it. I was very proud of you. And I think it's fantastic that you take on the huge endeavor of releasing this. Basically, you're not doing rent a studio, you're doing a self-release, you're doing a 4-wall, right? Which is fantastic. So you are dictating your own destiny in rolling this out, but you are creating eyeballs with it. You're rolling it out carefully, which is, I saw you being very careful on what theaters you're choosing and how you're screening it, which is fantastic. But you are now having a theatrical release, which is great. And that enables you to get all kinds of, access to awards, all these things, festivals and so forth. And you elevate the international value for this piece by doing this.
Yes, exactly. It's a slow rollout, but it's that thing of like, I hope the snowball just gets bigger as it goes up or down the hill, I guess. But again, it's kind of like tips and tricks. Like you didn't speak about it specifically in the class, but you did kind of throughout the class touch on it, that it's like, you have to kind of think strategy and think long-term, like, where do you see this project going? And that's our ultimate goal, is we think this film ultimately will be a bigger deal in 10 years than it is today. So we think, because once Skylar's the director, once he does his next few projects, we think people are going to come back to this one. So,
well, I don't even know if it's going to wait that long, because the story sounds great. The announcements are very favorable. I think the minute people see this in theaters, I think it's going to go faster than you think.
Okay.
Because it's word of mouth. I mean, look what happened to A Greek Wedding. I mean, it was a little no-name movie. And this happened, word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth. This is how this movie became successful. No names in it, low budget. Okay, granted, it was a comedy, but comedy is a very difficult genre too. It's like period piece. I mean, it's a translation issue right from the get-go.
Yep.
And you have a similar thing going, in that you're creating the word of mouth yourself and saying, we believe in this, we're taking it out. You have created already a buzz with these articles in major outlets, and your path, it also is a little bit dependent on what content you have. So for me, in teaching distribution path, first of all, this would have to be distribution class, but I think it's interesting to know that you are, as you're doing it, kind of learning what works, and then you expand from there, which is very smart. I mean, when you did the deal with Gravitas, fine, they didn't want theatrical, but you didn't give up and say, okay, now we're not saying theatrical. So I would have probably said, oh, they don't want theatrical. Okay, fine, it's just going to go on online and go on TV, end of story. I don't know if I would have had the balls to say, okay, I'm going to take this out myself and I'm going to pay for it. This is very admirable. This is great.
Yeah.
And it is a good movie. And I think knowing what you have is important.
Yep.
So did you face any challenges you would want to share with us, maybe on this project or maybe on some others that you think would be good to know for other people to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think one that's somewhat obvious, but just there are additional costs with stuff. So that's obviously an obstacle, and it is a risk. Like, I don't advise doing this, but we have all invested, including myself, additional personal funds in this to ensure the film gets out and seen, because it is a risk. It's, it hurt, but I believe in the product. So that's been one obstacle. Another obstacle has been actually dealing with kind of quality control of the film. So part of what makes this film special, especially theatrical premiere, so we shot this on 16 millimeter film.
Wow.
And we're actually screening it in film 35 millimeter as well. So we're trying to make this a truly cinematic experience and make a good reason for people to come out of their homes, especially in this post-COVID world. So we're trying to incentivize people to come out and make it a true experience versus just, oh, come out and look at my movie. It's like, no. We're playing cinema in cinema palaces versus just AMC. I mean, no disrespect to AMC, but like we're trying to make this a cultured, worth the money experience. But film has been an obstacle too. Like choosing to do that has been an obstacle. Finding theaters that have projectors and projectionists is an obstacle. But going back to quality control, when we have digital outputs, so like for our online stuff, one issue we wound up running into is the lab unfortunately delivered the wrong file. And so we're in the process of fixing that, but we specifically asked to see the file that was being exported, and they said, oh no, we don't do that. And so as a specific free lesson to everyone, I now know that's not acceptable. Like we, the filmmaker, need to see the final product, whatever it is. Like, even though you're saying it's 1-for-1, we learned that's not the case. So
wow. Who would have thought that can even happen, honestly?
Right? I mean, I come from studio land where that is checked 30 times before it hits the air. And yet here we are. So free lesson, like make sure you get to see the final product as the lab is delivering it, because that was a tough lesson to learn. And as you know, luckily we're still in a place where I think it won't ultimately affect us terribly, but you know, no one wants to get the phone call like, hey man, I was watching your movie and it looks a little different than what I remember.
Oops.
What? So
yeah.
So those are some of the specific obstacles with this film. But it's really just, the biggest one is just getting people aware of it. That's how do you do it on a budget? Because studios have hundreds of millions of dollars to throw around. We have whatever's on our credit cards to throw around. So, but
you chose wisely, right? You put the money. Where would you say was the best expenses that you've made in regards to making people aware of it? What do you think was the smartest investment on this?
I honestly think the smartest move was hiring a publicist.
Okay.
The second smartest move was, and still is, being on social media at every level, like doing the paid ads as well as reaching out one by one to as many contacts as I can find to like be like, hey, here's my movie, like check us out. Like it's work. But I honestly think the publicist was the best investment we made because she was able to get us that deadline. Like if we emailed deadline ourselves and it went to nowhere. So by having a publicist reach out, I think is what is the smartest amount of money we spent.
Well, you also gave the publicist something to work with. I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it's, you know, it doesn't have anyone in it that you want to throw around, but it is a great movie.
Yeah, that is. And
she optimized what you had.
Mm-hmm. And she was great. We talked to several publicists, but she was like her personality too, like, and it goes back to relationships, like her personality matched ours and she believed in the project herself. So, you know, find people that like what you do and it'll help.
And they can understand, first of all, they like what you do. They relate to what you do and then are willing to step up for it and supporting it. I think that's great. Now, you've mentioned you started out as a DP. Would you say, would you say that it is useful to start in a certain position in the entertainment industry to becoming a producer? Do you think there's some value there, or what would you say in regards to your path of making it?
That's a good question. I honestly, now that I've worked in the studio side too, I tell people this, but I'll double down on it. I think the best place to start out, if you have no idea what you want to do, but if you want to be a producer, this is the best place to start, is in the production office, whether it's on a big show or a little one, but like, because as someone who works in the production office and sees all the paperwork and all that stuff, it's the best place to meet all the department heads. So if you want to make contacts and understand how a film physically gets made, that's the best place to do it, either as an assistant or as an office PA. But because I also think you should be a set PA, because I think you should learn set etiquette, see how, oh, I know why we're delayed 2 days, because that explosion went wrong. Like when you see it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. So learning that kind of, and also learning how to deal with personalities, because as a producer, it's 90% managing personalities and making sure deals are going smoothly. But production office, I'd say, is the best. Then set PA, again, just to get an understanding and a baseline of all the people, because people who come up from a very specific route without having that kind of general overview, I feel get very like, well, why are they being like that? Like they don't understand the other side. Whereas when you start to me, because the production office and production itself is the hub, and then everything else either branches in or branches out from it, like art department, post, writers, like physical production, like grips, camera, electric, like they all come in this way. So you touch everything and you see everything, and you understand why the camera department needs to give the post daily house this exact report, or vice versa. You understand why dailies needs X file because camera only has this other file and it's not syncing up. You understand why you need to make sure the script is formatted properly because it affects everything else, and the script supervisor does this, and camera department needs this piece of equipment to get this shot. So once you start to see all the pieces come together, for me, it's a good way to know when you read a script, I'm already picking out elements that are going to be problematic. Like, oh, well, here in the way this scene is described, I can already tell they're going to want a crane. So like, I can already start plugging in that stuff because I know from set experience that that's how that stuff tends to get shot. So.
Perfect. I mean, this is a great description. I'm going to just use that and say, if you want to be a producer, just look at what Noelle said. This is what you need to do. What advice would you give your fellow professionals, the people that are now maybe taking the class or will be taking the class, but also people that work in the industry and are expanding?
I would say just maintain your relationships now, and foster those and grow those, because, and especially with people that you believe have talent and vision and ambition, because those are the ones that are going to grow. And obviously there's a mutual benefit to like staying friends with people who are going to do well, but at the same time, seeing people succeed gives a lot of joy. And it may be a situation where like you may never work with them directly in a situation where like director, producer, or producer to producer or whatever, but maybe they're the bridge between you and somebody else too. Because I'm have a separate project that we're going through this exact process right now, like trying to raise money, and we're just taking meeting after meeting with people who are, I think, are starting to turn into bridges. Like, okay, well, this person recommended us to you, this person recommended us to you, and we're getting one step closer to like the person we want to get to. But just be nice, work hard, and I guess, I don't know, just stay positive. Like, it's very easy to get discouraged. I'll say that too. But it's really just have persistence. And if you get a no, can you turn it into a yes, or can you turn it at least into a conversation somewhere else?
Yeah, and I think you're right. Networking in this industry is very, very important. I cannot stress this enough. I always stress this in every class I give. The people that are in your class, start there and just branch out from there, because these are people that come from different levels, from different areas of the industry. I mean, you know, we had like networks executives in our class, and financiers, and we had accountants, and we had actors, and we had writers, right? So all the different levels just there alone. A, you learn something about another side that you might not know, but B, they might go somewhere because they have a reason for being there and wanting to learn about finance. So I always say network within the group you have to begin with. But I do think you're saying something very important. Staying in touch with people, seeing what they're doing as they move forward is absolutely essential. And I can absolutely agree with that, because a lot of my original colleagues in Germany, they now run the networks and the studios. right? It started with me as an assistant. I did actually start as an assistant in the production office. So that's where I started. And then here in the States, just the people that I met when I started out and trying to get my first movie made, they also kind of grew up and now do stuff that I can just call them up and say, I have something, do you want to co-produce this? Or, you know, do you have something that I can finance? And there is always this exchange going on. And I think staying in touch and creating new relationships, I think is important.
Yeah.
For sure. I would agree with that. Looking at my questions, I think I have nothing for you anymore. What's your next project? Can you talk about that? Or is that like, so we cannot, I mean, just, you know, I don't know.
I mean, I have several. It's kind of like which one, but which is all good.
What's your favorite?
My favorite. Oof.
They're all good.
they're all good. They're all different. Yeah. I mean, Skylar just sent me his next script, so I'm excited to read that one. We've been developing it for a year, so this is the like latest draft, but I very much believe in that one. I have another script called Detroit Rounds that we're in the process of developing and getting funding for. That one I'm very excited about because it's a story that I think really the world needs right now. It's about hope. So that one, it takes place during the 1970s auto strike in Detroit, but it's really about this group of guys who are dealing with the mutual friend's suicide, and they all have their own struggles, and there's racism and some other elements too, but it's really just the struggles and learning to reach out and connecting and seeing strength in each other is how they overcome the grief. And I really, really just, to me, that's like a story I think we all can relate to and we all need, especially going through COVID where we all feel very disconnected. So that one I'm very excited about.
Sounds like a great one.
Yeah.
Wow, I love it.
And then I have a thriller that's a left turn from everything else. So that one we're talking to a company in Alabama right now, just about getting that made. So I got little irons in the fire.
You got all the, you got like little pieces. I mean, you seem to gravitate towards period pieces because the other one is the 70s. No, is the thriller happening today? Is that like?
Well, it's happening today.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all in one location inside. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I know I'm going to hear a lot more about the projects as you bring them out and work on them. So please keep me informed. Maybe there's something I can help with in some shape or form. I'd love to take a look and see if I can move some of these things forward. But
that'd be great.
I do like your commercial sensibility, which I know you do have. So that's hugely helpful. And I can only wish you the best of luck. And I know you don't need any luck because you're already on the right track. This is going to be it. Great. And then when you become like second Miss Spielberg or something like that, we're going to have you back and then you're going to share all the crazy war stories.
Exactly. I'll come back. We'll have a big party at my house.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll remind you of that. Thank you, Noelle, for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. You're super inspirational for all the people who see this. And I really, really cannot tell you enough. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, again, I only was able to have the balls to go in the room. I mean, whether this is a female thing or not, it's a separate conversation, but I went into that negotiation knowing exactly what I was saying. And I confidently was like, nope, I want this deal with these terms. And can you lower this here? And I was very proud of myself where in the contract, I found one of those little things you warned us about to like, watch out for them capping this or not capping that. I was like, and I would like this capped as well, please.
And they're like, darn, how does she know this?
So again, I'll credit to you. So I'm very grateful for everything you've taught me, and I hope this is a long relationship. And everyone, pay attention to her because she knows what she's talking about.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I know we will stay in touch for sure. Okay. I will let you go for today, but please keep me posted on what's going on with you.
I will.
Bye, Noelle.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.